there's probably a lot of people out there that are in that same boat that have a bookkeeper and they're like, oh yeah, that bookkeeper does all of that. You know how many times you hear that? That's a cop out. And as a business owner, we are responsible, for really all the people's families that are in our business. Like, we are protecting them and providing for them. And once you get past the point where you make money, now you have to start being accountable to, like, where did the money go?
All right, so I want to talk about data, AI, KPIs. What are we tracking in our business as far as like we're talking about scaling, right? Everybody's talking about how do I do more? And a lot of people at this conference that we're at right now, that's the number one question. Hey, I'm at 2 million. Hey, I'm at 5 million. How do I get to that next level? And besides leadership and things of that nature, using and analyzing data is crucial to building big companies and successful companies at that. So I'm with two of the best data-driven people that I know, right? Like I want the data. I want to see it in really cool graphics and analytics, but I'm not like the data gatherer. And these two guys with me I want you guys shine some light on it.
Our first step into really understanding our business when I came aboard is we built the budget. And I don't want to spend a ton of time on the budget, but I really don't feel like you understand. Well, it's my favorite topic because I really learn a lot about our business through the budget. It's a lot. I don't think I found. I'm not. I don't want to say anything about Paramount before in a negative fashion, but I will say I don't know that you had a great feel for your business before you saw the budget.
Right.
I don't think you realized how many dues and subscriptions were sucking you dry, how you ultimately your operation was profitable, how your marketing was transferring into quality leads and profit, ultimately gross profit, net profit, until you saw it in real time on a monthly basis. Could see the scale and see how you were growing, and you could really cut a lot of fat that way too. I mean, we cut Angie's List.
Yeah.
I mean, that was your number one. You swore by it.
Yeah. Back in the day, I mean, it was what built businesses.
But when we put it on a spreadsheet and we put it as real data, Eric, this is what you're spending on Angie's List monthly. I think at the time it was like 35, 4 grand and something like that a month. What is Angie's List bringing in? And then we could really understand the money going out really didn't quantify anything real coming back in.
Yeah.
We cut it. It was ultimately a hard decision for me to make until you saw the real data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge. I mean, because a lot of us business owners being the visionary mindset, right? It's always like, what's next? What's next? We're grinding, we're grinding, we're grinding. And in roofing, cash flow is a revolving door, money in, money out, money in, money out. Until the end of the year, like in Michigan, where we are, we take January, February off, and then you can collect it all, right? And then you're like, oh, wow, we did pretty well, right? And that's how it was when I was wearing all the hats. But the numbers, I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, so depending on where you're at in your business, like, remember that first year, like, you just gotta make money. We
Yeah.
gotta make the house payment, we gotta, like, make sure the kids eat. You're not so much focused on what we can track, you're just trying to make things to track later, like, you gotta get some transaction volume before you can look back and start creating trends. So, if you're just starting out, I would highly encourage people, you need to conceptually, and then you probably need to do it, you need to put in an invoice and then an expense, and you need to reconcile that expense and know where it goes to the bank account and how it hits it and how it talks in QuickBooks. That's what most everybody's using.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I talked to a business owner. He had been in business 5 or 6 years and didn't have the login to his QuickBooks. So yeah, it's tough, but there's probably a lot of people out there that are in that same boat that have a bookkeeper and they're like, oh that bookkeeper does all of that. You know how many times you hear that? That's a cop out. And as a business owner, we are responsible, for really all the people's families that are in our business. Like, we are protecting them and providing for them. And once you get past the point where you make money, now you have to start being accountable to, like, where did the money go? And a guy like you, your experience coming into Paramount is really you just start asking why questions.
Yeah.
Because, like, we go create all this transactions and we make money and, like, there's all these things, And then you really in your business at different levels, you need somebody to come in. If you're a visionary, come in behind you and be like, well, why did we spend $35,000 on X?
Well, I didn't feel like that. I usually just get married shit big time.
Well, no, but that, yeah, yeah, but it's nice about it. But it's
What the
like,
hell is this again?
yeah, it's those questions, and then they're like, how many times you're like, oh yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like you got to have somebody that watches your back. But the only way to watch somebody's back, like when you're creating activity, is data. And you get that data, like you don't get anything unless there's money involved. So if you spend money, there is a transaction that's recorded. And once that transaction is recorded, it has to be in a place. So if you guys don't know what a chart of accounts is, reach out to Tyler or myself and we'll explain to you what a chart of accounts is, because all it is when we take that expense and we have to show it somewhere. It is accountable somewhere on a piece of paper. And then we categorize those expenses and you get a section, which could be marketing. It could be cost of goods sold. It could be gross sales. It could be all the other expenses that go down below it. But now you have data that then we can track and hopefully optimize to let us visionaries make awesome, like, hey, we would spend $8,000 in this crazy thing that's going to pay off in 2 years. And then the Tylers of the world are like, okay, we have the money because of the data, the transaction, the bank account, the whatever it is like we can track this. If you don't have that, you're a business owner that's running blind. You're not, I mean, you really have no pulse on your business.
And you see so many, so many great businesses fail or just struggle because of this, right? It's the constant circle of not listening. You're not reading the book, right? You're taking the time to put the data in, but you're not reading it. And I mean, this transitions to marketing, this transitions to sales as far as KPIs and all your numbers and metrics that run in your whole company. They all tell a story, but the only way they can tell a story is if they're written in a book and then you can read it. And a lot of it's just glassed over, right? Like Mike Houghton does the P&L,
I don't think you're ever too important in your company to do the work to understand the numbers of your company. Tommy Mello yesterday was talking about, I know exactly how much I invoiced July.
Yeah.
And he's across the
72 locations.
He's in our market now.
Yeah.
Servicing garage doors. And I was like, that guy knows his company.
Yep.
Inside and out. He knows the guts. He knows the kidneys and liver. He knows everything about his company via the data.
Yeah.
You're never too big to understand, to do the work of knowing your business through the numbers.
And everybody and every influencer and every successful business owner and every different business there is always says the same thing. Know your numbers, right?
Yeah.
You got to know the numbers. You got to use the data. And I think a lot of people miss that shot.
I mean, specific examples, how many times have we talked to contractors that think they have money in the main O1 checking account, but their accounts payable is this big,
For sure.
and they're not watching it. And
there's full drug.
oh yeah. I was like, what? It's not good.
We still have 15 trucks all wrapped, right?
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, is that a personal job then? No, yeah. That's the most common example that I see is accounts receivable, accounts payable. And it's really scary because the money dries up coming in and you have all these payables, and then they don't have the data on the marketing side to say we can create predictable lead flow. Or the cost per lead on that is $9 million for one lead, like the Angie's List thing. It's like we can't afford to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You will never be able to make that decision unless you can track that lead back to that source and then say, this is how much we paid divided by the number of leads equals we spend too much money.
I mean, we still do it today. And we got a little bit far. We got a little bit behind in our budget, but we made it our priority to bring it back because we got swamped and busy. We decided it wasn't, I don't want to say we decided, we just let it go by the wayside because we got, the horse race blinders on and we were just grinding out day to day. Then we realized, man, we really lost track of what the hell we were doing. We need to get back to the numbers. We need to get back to the data. We need to get back to everything that made us ultimately, I don't want to say skyrocket, but skyrocket.
Yeah.
And knowing the numbers and being able to make educated decisions that ultimately help the company and grow the company in a very fast pace.
Yeah.
So massive growth. Okay. Like when you're in massive growth mode, the budget kind of goes out the window. All right. But what you can never lose sight of is your break even numbers.
Oh yeah.
Like your break even numbers, and then I would say your average profit margin, because then you know roughly as long as my average profit margin doesn't erode, I need X amount of sales to break even.
Yeah, I don't even know how people come up with the sell price without understanding your numbers.
Oh,
You know,
Oh yeah, that's
how do you
that's the
know?
quote I swear. What do you sell per square?
So people,
Don't sell per square.
I mean, there's still guys running out there in our market that are like, yeah, I'm 500 a square for a walker. How do you know?
Yeah.
some
What if it's
close,
10
like
square? What if it's 100 square? Is it still?
Yeah, how do you know what your square price is? I would people say, what's your square price? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I do know. It depends on the job.
Yeah, the day this year we hit our break even number as far as all of our expenses paid for the year, we knew that day. We were like, hey, all of our expenses are paid for the year. So
Yeah,
let's try it.
everything else is gravy. So I knew, like Eric just said, we knew exactly the day that our overhead was covered for the year. If I didn't know that, it would be a very stressful time this time of year.
Yeah.
All right.
it's anxiety for a business owner because you're literally running blind. You're running off these emotions, and whenever things aren't feeling right, I mean, you could have $500,000 in the bank and your cash, like you're out of debt and everything, but you're like, it doesn't feel right
Yeah.
because you don't actually have facts. You don't have numbers in front of you. And yeah, I would say like the only caveat to the budget part is like we doubled our company year over year. So what I did was is like, okay, marketing spend is X and overhead is X. When I hire a new person because I need to grow to there, this is how much more my break even point has to go up.
Yep.
And then please, your break even point should include profit too. Okay. If you want to make 10%, so like I've done all these little studies, like you need to make about 10% a year as you grow to like just sustain. Like it's scary. These guys, they don't have enough cash because they're not making profit. They're looking to break even. Like this is the number. We just need to hit this and everything's good.
Yeah.
And then one job, like you told me that story the other day, manufacturer's product failed and they had to come in and like, what if they hadn't helped you out on
Right.
that job? Like you would have been out hundreds of thousands of
Oh,
dollars or whatever.
yeah.
And you got to have that money.
You have to.
And most of these guys, man, they don't. So that break even point, if you don't know that number, you need to stop doing everything you're doing and go back and figure out that number ASAP. Because
So if we're talking about money, well, that's the number one tip you would give. If talking about money in the back of the office stuff, know your break even number, add your profit margin into your break even number, and make sure you're hitting it.
and then once you hire people, so everybody that you hire, when they come in and they want $25 an hour, you need to know the percentage on top of that that's actually like $29 an hour at least.
What it actually costs to employ an employee.
Yeah.
Because if you're break even, you're so tight to it, you got all these ghost expenses that are above it in payroll taxes, so like just a lot.
Yeah. I'm just gonna echo what he said. If I gave any tip to anybody, you have to know your break-even point. You have to know your true overhead. You have to know what it costs to flick the lights on every day, pay people to work with the background. You have to be able to you have to know that so you can set a goal.
Yeah.
And that
When you
swings back to data.
Yeah, when you can set a sales goal, now I know exactly what I have to hit in order to just break even. Uh, then you can come up with so many different things. You come up with your sell price. That's how you come up with your sell price. You set a sales goal based on your overhead. This is what I want to make because you're including profit. Now I have this sales goal. Now I'm going to set my team up for success. I'm going to motivate them to go hit this sales goal. When they hit the sales goal and it's like only halfway through the year, it's a damn good feeling. A lot of the anxiety goes away because you knew your numbers, you knew all the facts, you knew when you hit it, rest of the year is gravy.
Yeah.
That's a good feeling because then you start getting creative. We'd be like, okay, where do we want to go on a trip, guys?
Yeah, right.
Not if we can.
Yeah. That's when the big ideas come out.
Oh.
That's when Tyler runs.
So circling back to data, while we talk about break even and all that, if you guys are in super growth mode, you need to go back to the beginning and figure out what your expenses are and people in like your fixed expenses as much as you can. There are variable expenses, and the name of the game is trying to get as many of those expenses that go like this to be like this.
Linear, for
You
sure.
want to get them as fixed as possible because then you can add them in your budget. Okay. If you got random spikes of $8,000 charges every other third month, whatever, that's not good for your budget. So being able to like spread that out and add that into your break even consistently, that's the name of the game.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
No, that's good stuff, man. So hope you guys got something out of that. I mean, the back of the office stuff is always important. That's always been important to me is knowing my numbers and getting all my data and having accountants and bookkeepers and CPAs. That's really helped drive success for sure.